Hello and welcome to MS-4004. My name is Lockie and I'm here to take you through how Copilot can help you in your workday. Now before we begin, a little bit about myself. I'm based in Canberra in Australia and I am a Microsoft technical trainer. I help clients in high compliance scenarios get skilled up in a whole range of different areas, but my specialty is in multi-cloud and also hybrid cloud. That means I've done a lot of work with clients with documents all over the place. And using Copilot as an impetus to kind of bring things together and make the best use of all of the document libraries you have, the databases you build, it's kind of been my modus operandi the last few years here. So, what am I here to take you through? Well, with the lens of high compliance, I do a lot of work about how Copilot actually works under the hood. It's important to understand what it's doing. And my goal is for you to have a good understanding of how it actually works, not how we say it works or how it's said it works in the sales material, how you can actively use it in your workday, and how it works best for you in your specific scenario. So, without further ado, let's begin and start talking Copilot. Now, specifically, we are here today to talk about Microsoft 365 Copilot. There are many Copilots in the Microsoft ecosystem, and Microsoft 365 Copilot is the one that is designed to work with all of the components of Microsoft 365 and Office 365 more broadly. So I think before we begin, it's good to get a little bit of a level set. Let's talk about what it is, what it isn't, and what it's being built upon. So, Copilot for Microsoft 365 is the main child of what we're going to be talking about today. It's the main topic of our course and the main thing that we are focused on. But there are many Copilots, as I said. The Copilot for Word works differently to the Copilot for Excel, the Copilot for Outlook, Teams, Loop, and the rest of the Microsoft 365 ecosystem broadly. Each individual Copilot has its own set of special skills and is designed to work in a specific way. We call these two different types of experiences either standalone or embedded. The standalone experience for Copilot for Microsoft 365 is what you'll get at office.com or over in the Copilot app on your machine. Additionally, Teams actually makes use of the standalone version of the Microsoft 365 Copilot app, and it uses this to be able to reach out to Teams messages, look at calendar invites, and be able to bring in broader context about how Office works on the day-to-day. When we use an embedded experience, we use those in-app. And many of my demonstrations are going to focus on that in-app experience. This is where we focus in on some specific skill set. When we use Copilot in Excel, it's great at coming up with new formulas. When we use it in Outlook, it's designed for drafting emails and being able to coach us into, well, writing the right thing. When we're using it in Word, it's about recreating a document, redrafting, coming up with new suggestions, and looking for new improvements within that behavior. Each Copilot has a specific set of skills, and we look to utilize those whenever we can. But I keep using this word Copilot, and I think it's nice to just have a little bit of a background about what a Copilot actually is. Like, what is Copilot for Microsoft 365? We know what it's going to do for us, and I'll give plenty of demonstrations about how it's going to work for you. But under the hood, it's really three separate components. The first is an LLM, or a large language model. There are many different companies out there coming up with large language models. LLMs are designed to reach out to large data sets of information and be able to find patterns in how human language is written, and a little bit of how human language is spoken as well. We use this to be able to find easy, predictable pathways. So when we say, I have a pet, what's the next word? It could be dog, it could be cat, it could be bird, but there is a pathway that we can follow, and we know what the most likely response is going to be based on the data that we originally feed in. Now, critically, LLMs are packaged and static. Your information is not used to retrain or improve an LLM. These are things that we utilize and that we update over time, but these are generally provided by an external company. Whilst we as Microsoft do make various large language models and small language models ourselves, our research team is very skilled in that area. OpenAI is the main basis for many of the different packages that we use in the LLM space. Now, away from the technical jargon, what are we adding in when you go for a Copilot? The first thing is the protections and guardrails that you come to expect with a Microsoft system. These are things that do evolve and improve over time. We use this to ensure that when you use a Copilot, it responds in an appropriate manner. It behaves in a way that makes sense for an enterprise. You want something that you're going to use at work to feel like a tool you should be using at work. So we leverage the different pieces of our ecosystem, the different APIs we already have access to, and the great skill we already have in terms of filtering language, in terms of making sure that it is fair and responsible in its responses, and ensuring that it is grounded in a level of reality and accuracy. And the last critical piece, the thing that makes Copilot for Microsoft 365 something different, is the graph. Now, what the graph is a reach out API where we can hit an endpoint, a point in your environment that says, what's on your calendar? What's in your Outlook? What's on Teams? This is the thing that allows us to feed in all of the baseline components of the LLM, packaged with those protections, and then we add on the content you provide from your Microsoft 365 environment. So, baseline package wrapped with all the protections and guardrails you need to be enterprise ready, and then you bring the content, the thing that makes it personalized to you specifically. That is what a Copilot is, and that is what Copilot for Microsoft 365 is when you actually use it on the day-to-day. The Copilot system is designed to be able to give you a simple, trusted place to be able to do your work. We use these LLMs in combination with the graph in order to give you that proper, seamless integration across that Office 365 suite. And additionally, you can expect that there is going to be contextually aware responses. So that is the baseline of what Microsoft 365 Copilot is and what it's going to provide for you. There is a critical thing that you do need to know about this work version of Copilot. It is license-based. So you do need to ensure that you have the correct license in your environment and that it has been enabled in your environment today. Copilot is not on by default. It is something that an organization needs to enable. Of course, right now, for non-work use, you have access to a Copilot. Over on Bing, there is a Copilot available for general use and for great web queries. But it's not designed with enterprise protections in mind. It's designed for general search terms and general use cases. If you are looking to integrate with Microsoft 365, pulling your emails and all of the things you expect out of a work environment, that's where we're going to require a license. So if you don't have access to it today, there's a couple of things that need to happen in the back end there, and that might be why. Now, let's talk about what Microsoft 365 Copilot does for you specifically. The three things you see on here: understanding context and user need, transforming how you work, and giving yourself a whole bunch of key capabilities. These effectively show what a base Copilot is able to normally do. The understanding of context, that's based on the graph. The more we can pull in from there, the better we are able to work with the data you provide. Transform how you work, large language models, and the secondary piece of that, a natural language processor, means that we can take the questions you ask, run them through an algorithm, and then the LLM can process them and give an output that feels right. It feels like you're talking to someone, like you have an assistant or a Copilot on the side. And of course, the last thing is that baseline LLMs have many key capabilities that we are leveraging. The ability to rewrite, to analyze, to find different components, whilst also ensuring that you are, well, secure. You have access to the things you should have access to and no more. It's critical to ensure that we're managing all three of those pieces. This right here is the logical architecture of how a Copilot actually fits together. And I like to leave this one in just as a way of giving you one last set of how the graph actually functions. Just remember that a Copilot alone, the thing that we see at this point, that Microsoft 365 Copilot out of the box, it does great work, but doesn't know you. The graph, the thing that means that if it is something you can't see, Copilot can't see it. If it's something that you are able to pull, Copilot can pull it. We use your permissions. So if Copilot can see it, you can see it. That is a really important part of how we have designed this. It should work out of the box with all of the various permissions you already expect. So always keep that in mind. Now, there's one last piece of this that I haven't actually defined properly yet. We talked about LLMs already, those pre-packaged components, and we've talked about Microsoft 365 apps. But I only really quickly went through what a natural language processing component is. One of the key things to remember with large language models, the thing that Copilot's based on, is that they don't really understand anything. It'll feel like it. They're extremely good at being able to predict what they need to say next to be accurate and say the right thing. But natural language processing is the actual thing that allows you to talk to a Copilot. It takes your language that you speak. English is the easiest example that I can think of for what we tend to talk about here. I have a dog. That will get translated into 1, 2, 3, 4, a series of numbers that represent the words we're saying. Then all we need within the large language model is to find the pattern of those numbers within it. And then at the end, we need to then run it in reverse. We need to take the output of numbers we have and be able to feed them back into normal language. It's the 1-2, going from things you say in the way you like to say them, bringing them down, running them through an algorithm, and then outputting them back out. When you look at what it's actually doing under the hood, you'll be astonished at just how good Copilot is at being able to pick up what you need and how you need to access that info. Always remember, because of the way that the graph works, it is always based on a compliance-first opinion. If you cannot see it, Copilot cannot see it either. I know I've emphasized that already, but it's super important to say. What this does mean is that if you find that Copilot can see something that's unexpected, let your organization know. It means that you've been able to see it this whole time, and we need to get that fixed. This is an important piece of Copilot. It reaches out to all of the graph that is available. So if it is able to return something, you've always been able to see it there. Let people know if you ever see something that's not right. The last big piece I want to emphasize here, before I just show you a little bit of Copilot, is I want to talk to our responsible AI. Microsoft has, for a very long time, had a key set of responsible AI principles, and we adhere to them at all times. Responsible AI principles and practices around compliance with various government organizations and government bodies, making sure that we are using this in a way that makes sense and ensuring that you have access to the tools in a safe manner. This is our core goal. The AI tools that we have should be trustworthy. That is a key component of it. And we want to make sure that you are able to feel that these tools are trustworthy, that you can use them in the way that you expect and you can trust their output. Additionally, you should be able to be empowered to use these AI tools responsibly. We make sure that there are guardrails in place so you can use them and fall into the right space to ensure privacy and security is paramount. So always keep this in mind. We have responsible AI principles. We use this to define how these AI tools are actually designed. We recommend that you follow those principles too. Feel free to take a look at the responsible AI principles over on learn.microsoft.com. We publish them out publicly and we're proud of them. All right, next we're going to go across and we're going to take a look at how Copilot works. And I'm going to show you just a few quick tours of some simple prompts that we can run to see how things work in our environment. Okay, so welcome to Copilot. This is available over at office.com, but as I mentioned, there's many different ways you can reach Microsoft 365 Copilot. Here on my main screen, I am currently in work mode. At the top of the screen, you'll see work and web. Work means that we are in your enterprise environment. We're going to use internal documentation and things that you have access to in your SharePoints, OneDrives, and also in any Teams, Outlook messages, etc. Straight away, we can see easy examples of some potential prompts that we can use for Copilot, such as, I've got a daily stand-up. Maybe I need some help preparing for that. Gabriel Woods has been contacting me. What about the latest messages from them? These are far from the only prompts that you're able to do with Copilot. The world's your oyster. Use your imagination and think about the ways that Copilot can work with you. It's using a natural language processing system, which means talk to it in a natural way. Use slang, use terms, but always be nice. Just like a person, Copilot responds better when you are kind to it and when you do say please and thank you. I know, but it does make a big difference. On this screen, there's a couple of important things that we need to know. First, the shield up the top. Anytime you see this shield, you know that your enterprise data is going to be protected. But the way this reflects is slightly different depending on what we're looking at. In the work mode, it means we're going to bring in your enterprise data. In the web mode, it means we're going to exclude it. So you've always got a guarantee that when you're using Copilot at work, whether you are using the web mode for general public chat or using the work mode for internal documentation, as well as potentially content from the web, we're able to make sure that your data is protected. You will see my little chat history coming on there as well. The chat history is always available in a little panel window on the right-hand side. Additionally, in the three dots at the top here, you'll see there's a little web content button. Sometimes it's good to flick that web content off, and so we don't pull in things from the web and we keep things purely internal. It's your call, but it's a nice little thing to work with. Now, what we're going to do is just a pretty simple prompt here. I have a daily stand-up coming. It's pulled in my calendar invite and it's got some information. Help me prepare for the project widget daily stand-up. Copilot is now running that prompt live. It gives me details about what's actually going in. We've got some additional components from external sources. This has pulled in some emails from my inbox there. It's also got the details in the agenda from the meeting itself and even who organized it. This sort of quick overview is perfect for what Copilot is great for. We see references to each of the things that it needs to reach out to. So if you need to pull in some extra data or get some extra context, you've got it straight away. And you've even got some follow-ups here. Drafting my update will give me a little bit of summary context on those extra emails. It's very easy and it's designed to be simple to pull in extra information from these other sources. So think about how you can use Copilot in your day. Now, this is the standalone experience. Beyond this, there is, of course, all of those embedded experiences. A quick tour of some of them. This is the embedded experience in Word. You have the ability to draft new documents with Copilot, as well as using it as a rewriting and coaching tool. Either way works well for us. Whatever works well for you is the way to use it. Within Word, there is also the side panel. And the side panel is great for asking general questions. If you need to ask a question about other documents, to pull some components in, or even link in external files, that's where you're able to do that and be able to create new content from other sources. In Outlook, there's two primary skills that we've worked with. The ability to summarize email threads, number one, very important. When I get a lot of emails overnight, I want to know what's actually going on and why I got so many. A quick summary of a thread can help you get up to speed fast and works brilliantly every time. The drafting of emails, it's a longer kind of process there. Maybe you want to change the tone. Maybe you've got the core points that you want to say, but you need to find a way to put it all together, get the context right. You can use the drafting capabilities to find that right wording, change the length, change the tone, even make it into a poem if you want to. If you're using Teams, two main ways we can use it. The Microsoft 365 chat is available, so you can use Microsoft 365 Copilot's full feature set, reaching out to multiple sources and getting context. Or you can keep it contained to a single chat thread. Both are useful in different ways. The chat thread feature is great if you're trying to work out what that action item needs to be from a long set of history, or with lots of back and forth in an asynchronous world, just what actually matters to me. What do I need to be doing here? This is far from the full set, but always remember that work-web switch. If at any time you want to remove the work context and only pull from the web, ask general questions. What is an LLM? How does this work? Tell me about this animal. The sort of things that the kiddos like to look up as well. Always use that web mode. The web mode also has a nice little feature on the side, the ability to go through and change the conversation style. Different conversation styles give you different responses. A creative response is going to go far off the beaten path, whereas a precise response is going to focus on the facts and figures. Take your pick. Within the Copilot for Microsoft 365, we focus more on the precise above all else. Accuracy is key when in an enterprise environment, so that's the key focus for us. Now, the big thing to remember is that Copilot and Copilot for Microsoft 365, it doesn't end with just the Copilot chat itself. AI itself and working with AI tools, it's both art and science together. Yes, there is definitely a lot of creativity and you have full freedom to use these tools however fits you. Truly, I want you to experiment and iterate. That is how you get better at these tools, and the better you get at using the tools, the better the responses. The better the responses, the better you're going to use them, and so on and so forth. It's a positive feedback loop, and it's brilliant. AI is designed to not give the same answer twice. Well, sometimes it can, but it follows whatever path makes the most sense based on what you've said. Change up your wording. Sometimes AI is what's known as usefully wrong. I know, but if you're looking for a creative thing or trying to come up with ideas, it's going to try and look for different pathways to follow each time. This means that we get different prompts, different thoughts, different ways of drafting or other areas to improve every time we ask. Use your different AI skill sets and use this as an experimentation. Don't treat it as a one and done, always the same. Use it as a conversational tool and a conversational partner to experiment and to test ideas with. Now, there is a number of clear best practices. You don't have to follow these, but following them will get you a better response, guaranteed, with any large language model. So of course, well applies to Microsoft 365 Copilot. First, be clear and be concise. Don't waffle on if you can avoid it. Try and keep your wording clear, try and keep it short, but don't leave things out. Always ensure that you are providing feedback if things are wrong. Ensure you add extra context if it's needed. Just try and keep it to whatever the minimum would be. Just like us, Copilot works best when it's a short phrase or short emails. But also like us, it needs all the context there. So make sure you provide it all together. The next and important thing is that you should trust what Copilot says, but at all times, verify. AI and large language model tools, they have great pattern matching skills and are extremely accurate. But there is a reason we have the disclosure that AI tools are sometimes incorrect. It's pattern matching. It's not a human with the understanding there. And just like someone who doesn't have all the context or maybe doesn't know the whole scenario where you're rubber ducking a question off, we want to ensure that we're checking their work. Make sure you check the responses from Copilot for accuracy, especially when you're dealing with very specific numbers. Additionally, Copilot's not actually designed as a replacement tool, so don't use it for everything. It's not skilled in every area, and it's not supposed to be. It's got specific skill sets to help supplement your workday and make you better at what you do. It's an extension, not a replacement, so don't over-rely on it. Also, make sure that you just are creative with it. Do fun stuff, test things out, push the limits. Copilot is a tool that lets you unlock your creativity. And that is sometimes in the most menial of forms, but using it to extend out words that you find to struggle to get on a page, or just finding the right way to say that message. It's always a different way of using it, but focus in on being creative with it and using it in the way that makes you feel good. And the last two are important for us. Stay updated. We're always improving Copilot and adding in new protections and new skills, and ensure that you're prioritizing privacy and security. Those go hand in hand. New skills lead to new ways of using Copilot. New ways of using Copilot lead to new areas that you might not expect. So always be understanding and be cautious when you're working with sensitive data. Copilot will work with your sensitivity labels and all of the things we expect, but you still need to be careful and still need to be cautious. So always be thinking at the forefront, how am I prioritizing privacy and security while still getting the most out of the tool? Now, when you are building a prompt, what you are looking at here is the most effective way that you can write a prompt. Again, you don't have to follow it, but a best practice gets you best results. Always give Copilot a goal. In this case, I want 3 to 5 bullet points. Context, it's for an upcoming meeting with a client. That's going to change language, tone. It's going to change a lot about what we are responding. Give the expectations, a tone that is friendly but authoritative. That's important. We're changing how Copilot's going to say things, and that's going to change a lot about the different ways we put it together. And of course, your source. If you only want Teams messages, if you only want emails, only provide those. This goes for all different types of prompts as well. As much as the examples here are focused on Teams and email messages, if you are drafting a document, you're thinking about summarization, you're creating a presentation, whatever it is, think about the ways in which you can effectively prompt your environment. We have some great guidance on effective prompts over on learn.microsoft.com. So if you're looking for more information or deeper dives into what makes an effective prompt, go check it out. Last of all, in the best practices, there are also a few simple don'ts. Always be clear and concise. Don't be vague. When you're vague, Copilot will respond in unpredictable ways, just like a person would actually. If you don't give them the details, they're not going to quite know what to say. So they might do something that's unpredictable. Focus on if-then conditionals. If it doesn't work here, go do that. If you don't find this, go do this instead. Get creative. Use analogies. I use slang all the time, and it works great. If you can't quite find the word, use the one you've got at hand. Think about it and just talk to it in the way that makes most sense for you. One that's a really nice hidden feature of the way that LLMs work, great at role-playing. If you need to put it in the shoes of a client or put it in the shoes of a manager, tell it it's a manager. That's its job now. And it will go through and it will play that part. It can be really good for testing out stressful scenarios or really just trying to work out what sort of questions someone might ask in the room. And the last important one, you don't have to put it all in one prompt. It can be a conversation. We call them chats. And this chat back and forth can be a series of different prompts. Each chat is a totally new context. So bring in the information you need and then ask for the details of it all together. Summarize the context, summarize the content, and bring all the parts in before you go through and do that. Last of all, you know that Copilot's not going to be good at everything because it's not supposed to be. It is a skilled tool. It's a scalpel, not a hammer. If you have a repetitive task, that is great for it. If you've got clear tasks with repeatable pieces, that is what it is good at. If it's something that's ambiguous and requires interpretation and is hard to work out, that's something that Copilot can assist with, but it needs you to make that last bit of the difference there. Be clear, Say please, be polite, be curious and ask preliminary questions, and iterate. Iterate, iterate, iterate. This is the most important part of getting good at using Copilot. So provide feedback to it. Say, that's not what I was expecting. I want it more like this. Give it samples, give different pieces of information. Do what you can to try and find the right sort of response. Beyond this as well, if there's something else you need to bring into Copilot, your organization can actually extend it into external tools. We support a whole range of ERP and CRM applications to be able to pull in document stores, wikis, blogs, you name it. If it can integrate with the graph already, we can integrate it with Copilot. So if you're looking for a way to extend this out, there's many different options you have available. All right, now that we've gone through the basics, I think it's time to work out what Copilot can do for you. Let's dive in, and I'm going to show you some options on how Copilot works for your specific environment. For HR professionals, people are the priority, and Microsoft 365 Copilot is designed to support them more efficiently and effectively. Whether in recruiting top talent, onboarding new hires, managing performance, or driving engagement, Copilot serves as a reliable partner across all HR workflows. It assists with drafting job descriptions, analyzing engagement, and other tasks within the M365 suite. And this includes anything from scheduling interviews, onboarding plans, you name it. Copilot is there to assist you and help with their workflows. Up next, I'm going to show some practical use cases that can help maximize the potential of Microsoft 365 Copilot for your HR work. Let's jump in. Here we have the Create page over on office.com. At this point, I'm ready to have a new blank Word document. So let's go and create one. Now, starting from blank, it's never the most fun process in the world, so Copilot's there to assist you right from the get-go. At the top, there are 4 individual prompts. You don't have to follow them, but they're good places to just think about. If you opened a document recently, it'll pop up. Now, I've brought my own prompt, so let's go through it. I'm a HR manager at the Graphic Design Institute. We've started the hiring process for a new senior animation designer. I want to review an attached document that outlines the job responsibilities and create a job description based on that role. All right, going into the reference your content, we can attach the file directly. I know it starts with the words Graphic Design Institute, so let's just search for that. Graphic Design Institute, and there it is. We've got our design team responsibilities document. Now, if we didn't find it that way, we can hit the / button, go do a general search, or we can actually hit the upload from cloud button, that same attached menu, and you can go and browse your OneDrive or SharePoint to find it from there. All right, we've already got our first draft. Let's take a look and see how we did. We've got our position overview at the top. We've got some responsibilities breaking down step by step between the different responsibilities within a role. Pretty good so far. Baseline qualifications. Those qualifications look a little bit light on, I will say. I think we can do something a little bit better. Now, I know in the document that's attached, there's actually a lot more detail in the job responsibilities. So let's go through and see if we can get some extra information out of that document. So while the description is a good start, there could be more details from the responsibility document included. If something's missing, let Copilot know. This is supposed to be an iterative process, and often the thing that lets you know that something needs to be there is that it's missing initially. So let's go through and ask for way more detail. Outline each responsibility area, select those required of a senior animation designer, and be as specific as you can. That is important. It means that Copilot is going to use the wording from the document wherever possible. Okay, immediately I am seeing some keywords that tell me we've hit the nail. Here we go. So in the how to apply, all fine. Qualifications, that is specific animation software relevant to the job description. Really good stuff. Quality assurance is focused on specific animation quality rather than generic components. Creative development, we've got some good pieces. Animation design. Overall, this has really hit the nail on the head. So I'm very happy with this secondary draft here. There's still more we can add though. So let's ask for a few different enhancements here. Now, actually, I want to do some more generic points at this moment. Leadership, performance, company culture. Are they going to be a fit? Additionally, if something's missing, I want them to be added as well. I didn't see much in terms of the benefits of the job, so let's simply ask if something's missing, can you please add it into the draft? Copilot's going to search through the document, look for the benefits section that is there, and it's going to add in that content simply because I've used my natural language to ask the question. All right, position overview, creative development, all of the same things we got before, so we haven't lost any content. And there's the new benefits section. Perfect. So it's got exactly what we need. All of those benefits of the job, the things that you will get, competitive salary, paid time off, all the usual things that we would expect. That's wonderful. Okay, one last thing I would like to see added to this. I would love to see some extra specific pieces about education. Whilst the qualification is not needed necessarily for the job, it does certainly show a level of experience. So let's add a section of education to the report. Additionally, I am going to say add a summary or position overview section at the beginning of the document. Now, those who noticed before might already see that there was a position overview component there. That is not a problem. What I'm trying to show here is that even if you ask for something that already exists, Copilot will get the context. It's not going to ignore you, but it knows it's already there, so it's not going to regenerate that content. By putting that in there, there's kind of no skin off our back. You can easily go through and you can just add in pieces that you think are missing or that you didn't notice. And if it is already there, you're not going to lose it. So scrolling back up to the top, we can first see position overview, gone nowhere. Wonderful, exactly as we'd expect. Education section, now included. So it's got everything we need. And we've always got the back drafts. I see that how to apply section's getting shorter and shorter. So we can always go through the older drafts, see if we find something that works a little bit better. We can always copy it in, edit the prompts that we had previously, anything along those lines. I'm most happy with the most recent draft though, so we'll stick to that. Okay, the last important thing, is there anything missing? Now, usually I would ask these questions in the Copilot side pane. General questions about a document, they tend to work a little bit better and like to live over in the top right-hand corner side pane. You can see that little Copilot button up there. But if I ask it this way in the draft, look at what happens. It's still going to answer my question, but in drafting mode, it will actually answer that question in line. So benefits, qualifications, additional suggestions. I now have a new section of the document. If you are going to do it this way, not a problem. Just know that it is going to live in the document and you will have to remove any content that's not required. I'm going to do it a bit of a sneakier way though. I'm going to tell Copilot, please only add the section that is in place about technical concepts to non-technical stakeholders. I think that is a useful thing for us to put in the job description, so let's include that. By doing that, it will then go through and remove the additional suggestions section because we've said don't include the other piece. Beautiful. So we get that in play. That last section will have disappeared. We are now gone. We've lost a little bit of the job description, but for now, let's just hit keep it. Notice that the blue highlighting went away. We're now out of drafting mode. At any point, you can get Copilot to redraft pieces of the content by highlighting it. But we're out of the drafting mode more broadly, so you are going to need to just start redrafting and reworking the content from there. Okay, let's take the document we've just created and I want to actually use that to start comparing against some other applicants that we have coming in. We're going to take a look at some resumes and we're going to see if they meet the requirements of the job description I've just set. Copilot's not necessarily a decision maker in this, but it will give you the advice and make sure that all of the information is presented to you so you can make the right call. So to begin, let's go through and create another blank document. We just need to start from there, nice and ready to go. Next, I'm going to pop in a similar little prompt to what we had before. I'm the hiring manager for the Graphic Design Institute. we're hiring for the senior animation designer position. Please create a report that compares the various candidates that I have for the role. So this is going to leverage that job description we just wrote, and we're also going to attach some additional documents in the form of those different resumes that people have brought to us already. Now, there's going to be a few things that I'm going to ask Copilot to do here. In addition to the report itself, I'm also going to ask them to rank the candidates based on qualification. So we can use this as a starting point to just see where the candidates fit in the match. All right. Now, the next part we're going to need to do is actually attach those documents. When you're attaching multiple documents to a Copilot prompt, when you hit that reference button, you've got a couple of options. We can certainly search for individual pieces in here. We can pull through the initial document that we have. But when you select multiple things, it's much easier to go through the Copilot upload prompt that's available when you jump in and you go browse files from cloud. This will take you to your OneDrive. You can simply jump into the place that your files are located. In our case, it's over in the HR examples. And I've got my 4 resumes down the bottom. Selecting them all and attaching it once, we now have all of the documents required put in together. Let's see what Copilot comes up with. Now, the first cut of this draft, it's going to provide some recommendations for us. That's up to you if you want to follow those ones. The key thing is it's getting the information towards you in a quick manner, and speed is always of the essence when we're trying to get a qualified candidate in. Now, we've got a quick ranking down the bottom there. Nest is certainly looking like the top one for an extensive experience, but Patty is certainly not far behind. But there's not quite enough detail, is there? I'm missing some information about why these candidates have been ranked in this way. Now, I know for a fact from reading these before, one of the things that is making Nesta really shine is the length of time they've been in the industry. Potentially means that maybe they'd be better in a leadership role compared to the sort of in-house, on-the-ground role that we're looking for here. So let's go through and ask for another draft of this report. I want the same sort of information, but I think presenting it in a different manner is going to get me closer to actually finding out what I need to do here. So let's enter the information and we're going to put it into a table instead. As well as giving us quick points of comparison, we can also ask for specific pieces of information to be presented in the table if we need to. For now though, what we're going to focus in on is just understanding if there is performance metrics, responsibilities, education, experience, and leadership skills that the candidates already have. Immediately, this feels a lot better in terms of presentation for what we need to know. Certainly, Nest is still coming up top, but again, Patty is not far behind in terms of the level of experience we're looking for. They've got quite a lot of certifications under their belt, and they have supervised teams effectively and looked at animation workflows. Nesta might be a little bit overqualified for what we're looking for. Okay, now its usefulness is as a summarization tool. That's what Copilot is really meant for. This will get you all of the points front and center so you as a hiring manager or someone in HR can make the right call about what candidate is going to suit best. So use it to your advantage. Microsoft Loop makes teamwork easy. And I want to go through and use it to be able to create, share, and work on content in one spot. No matter whether you're collaborating with others or you're combining things together with Microsoft 365 Copilot, it provides you a place to brainstorm and draft. Now, we're going to be using it for one specific purpose. What are we going to ask our candidates in the interview? Let's use Loop now to be able to go through and work with Copilot to research out what are going to be the best interview questions we can be asking. So if you don't see Loop on your main app page within Office, no stress. Head on over to the little apps tab on the left-hand side and you'll find Loop sitting within there. Let's open it up now and we're going to create a new workspace called Interview Questions. Once we jump in, there's a few little settings that we get to pick if we need to. First, of course, give it a name so people know what to expect. Next, we get to choose a little icon, just an easy identifier if nothing else, as well as set your sensitivity labels and who we want to share this document with. You can always change sensitivity and who you're sharing with at a later time as well. Let's go through search for interview. What have we got? I reckon a little brain will do nicely. All right, let's hit create there. Now, initially, some little templates are popping up along the bottom there. Before I go through and name the page or anything like that, we'll name it. I'll show you what happens. We'll go through and we'll actually take a look at some of those templates. So let's bring up quickly. Copilot's actually saying, would you like to use a loop template? Let's take it up on the offer and see what we get. On the left-hand side, you'll see a range of different templates that we have available. It's your call if you want to use these, but these are great and perfectly designed for different sorts of brainstorming and drafting scenarios. Looking to set up a wiki or trying to come up with different meeting notes scenarios, wonderful. You'll note that it did drop out that name. So let's go through, let's call it what we want, and I'm going to make a custom prompt instead. It'll leverage the most appropriate template based on what I ask. So interview questions for the senior animation designer role. And I want to get a list of the 15 best questions that I can ask specific to the role that we are trying to define here. So I am applying for a senior animation designer role. What do I need to ask? Let's get this into play. Let's get a draft going for this. And let's see how this actually ends up presenting within Loop itself. Oh, quick spelling fix there, 2 ticks. There we go. All right, now the first set of questions, I'm expecting them to be pretty good, but I know there's going to be something missing. There always is, there's always another question we can ask. So it's about having lots available to us. Let's see what we've got so far though. Okay, so first set of questions. Describe experience with animation software, makes sense. How do you handle tight deadlines? I would ask that in pretty much any interview. How do you ensure consistency? How do you approach storytelling? Do you manage creative differences in a team setting? These all feel pretty appropriate. There is one thing that's missing that I've been asked at pretty much every interview. How did you handle a scenario where a project failed? And what did you learn? Now you can either erase the previous prompt and it'll pick up the context, or you can add it to the end of the prompt that you have down the bottom. Either way, Copilot will pick up the slack and understand what you're doing. So let's see if we can get that in there. And now we've added a question somewhere in the mix focused on exactly that. How do we know? We're now at 16 interview questions. So we can simply continue to brainstorm, come up with different questions we think of, and it will continue to add them into the list there. Now, the next thing I want to ask is much less broad like this. I want a very specific question to be added. One of the things is that they are going to need to lead their team in projects. I need a question that asks, how do they actually do this? So what are their most significant experiences in leading other design team members? And tell me about your leadership style. Rather than a generic tool at this point, Copilot is essentially becoming a redrafting tool, taking the question that I've asked in the long way I've asked it and trying to get it down to some sort of tight piece of question and answer. And we know it's been added because we've got our top 17. We can hit keep at this point, and if there's anything else we want to ask, we can always head to the Copilot pane on the side. Rather than a drafting window, this is great for generic questions like, are there anything else that you would add to the document? Beautiful. Ask the question, and it will go through, analyze the interview questions we have so far, and just see if there's anything else that could be useful. Well, we've already got a comprehensive list. I'd agree, there's certainly quite a few there, but it's come up with a few nice ones actually. Motion capture technology, do you have experience? Can you describe a time you had to mentor someone? Yeah, those are all nice ones. And we can always just copy them into the interview questions if we need, or we can ask Copilot to try and add them in. Now, this doesn't always go as planned, but in Loop, we have a pretty consistent hit rate here. We've got the question isolated out. We can always just copy that in to the end of our little space there. Always remember that as a backup. Copilot is very good at being able to insert into documents dynamically and work out where you are, but we always output the questions directly as well, just in case something goes awry, doesn't go in the place that you're expecting, stuff like that. So we now have our question in play. all's well, and we've got our list of questions we're going to be asking our candidates in the interview. All right, the interviews are done. The description went out. We found some great candidates, and Patty is the one who we want to offer the role to. Let's head across over to Outlook and actually draft an email congratulating her on the offer and go from there. So here is our Outlook menu. I'm going to create a new email from here. Just give us 2 ticks. We'll open that email up. I might just get this into a bigger window for you. Okay, pop that over here. There we are. All right, so the first thing I want to do at this moment is I actually want to attach the employee benefits package. Now, the reason I am attaching this before I do anything else is so we can ensure that Copilot is going to get the context of what we're asking. We want the employee benefits package to be a part of the responses we're giving. This is how we ensure that they are. Now, in the Copilot menu, I've got a few options, and we want the drafting option for now. And at this point, it's pretty straightforward. I am the HR manager at Graphic Design Institute. It essentially means we're asking Copilot to play the role of me. I want you to create an offer email out to Patty that offers her the position of the senior animation designer. Now, we're going to add a few little details into this mix as well. I'm going to use some specific numbers and a couple of specific dates, just so we can ensure that Copilot feeds those through. So, start date is planned for next Monday. We'll ensure that feeds in. The starting salary, we'll ensure that we had that specific number as well, so we've got something there. And I think for now we've got most of what we need. Oh no, we need to add one more thing. Let's add a quick note to say that once she accepts the offer, there's still something she'll need to sign and return. All right, let's get all of that together. Let's pop them in and we'll send up our prompt. Now, the first thing I'm going to check when Copilot responds with an email like this is if the tone matches what I like to say. Hope this email finds you well. Let me know if you have any questions. There's a couple of things in there that don't quite match what I'm looking for. We're going to change this from a default formal tone to something a little bit more direct. Now, it's made a couple of adjustments there, which have really just extended out and made it a bit more businessy in a way. Now, from here, we've got a couple of options. First of all, if we're done with our attachment, we can remove it. Always make sure you're doing that if you're using anything for reference. And note that you can't edit the draft as of yet. We need to finish and ensure we're going to keep it before we actually are able to make smaller changes. So for now, we're going to continue to ask Copilot to make adjustments. So next thing, can you please add a section that talks to some of the specific benefits we have attached? Let's use it. We're going to be sending it to Patty as well, and we recommend that she reads the full benefits before she accepts the position. So let's get all of that into play, ask Copilot to add that into the content of the email. It's going to continue to match the tone that we've selected. Let's get it out there. All right, so still got the formal letter to sign and return. That's looking good. In addition to the salary, we have an attractive benefits package. That's looking great. So we've got some good pieces there. All right, easy done. I think there's a few other things we can still add in, don't you? First of all, let's go through and just keep in our current state. There's certainly some other stuff that I want to add in, but I think for now, we're in a pretty good state. Oh, something went a little bit awry there. Let me just get rid of that. All right, wonderful. So we've got our benefits listed. We have the starting salary, all the baseline pieces. But I'm going to ask it to add a new section right where I've just set my cursor. Let's add a quick note to say that the offer is actually contingent on the completion of a background check. There's going to be some pre-employment screenings that Patty does need to go through. We need to make sure that Patty's going to be okay to pass those checks. That's all right. It's just a formality, but it is important that we let her know. And so there's some a little bit there. Note it hasn't auto-replaced things. We're now out of the draft mode and we're into the editing mode, which works in a little bit of a different way. So I've gone through and hit replace, and it replaces the content I had before with the new stuff. Simple as that. We now have our email ready to go out to Patty with a letter of offer. All right, let's close things out. You've seen how Microsoft 365 Copilot can transform the way HR professionals work. automating your routine tasks, enhancing collaboration, getting quick decision-making in your hands. Whether through the job descriptions, comparing candidates, drafting offer letters, I showed you a bunch of ways that Copilot can help you work smarter and faster. With the skills that I've shown, I hope you're now ready to elevate your HR practice, improve employee experiences, and drive meaningful outcomes. And now it's your turn. Prompt with purpose and let Copilot help you lead the way. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.